My everyday makeup essentials, timeless style over 40. Hello ladies, thank you so much for popping by. So today I'm going to be sharing my everyday makeup essentials, those items that I can't live without and how I use them to create this really glowing daytime natural look. So let's go back to the beginning and show you how I did it. Okay, not my favourite part, looking very barefaced and a little bit grey. So let me see if I can make this look a little bit better. So first things first, I have prepped my skin with a moisturiser. I'm currently using the Super Skin Lizelle Advanced. This one has got a lovely fragrance to it actually, slightly eucalyptus possibly, but not too harsh at all, and a really nice one to go underneath my makeup. And then SPF wise, I use the Ultraviolet 50+ daily. I'm being very good now with my sun cream. So my first makeup essential has got to be my amazing foundation that I got from Trish McEvoy, complemented by the perfect blending brush. Never have I ever realized the power of a simple blending brush, but truth, it really does make a difference. So let me show you. So I very happily had this foundation chosen for me as I went and had my makeup done in Liberties by the Trish McEvoy makeup artist. So he chose this one for me. This is the Gorgeous Foundation and I have shade 4, if that helps. So I tend to do a couple of stripes on there. I'm not going to pin my hair back today because I've managed to make it curl just how I like it. So I'm frightened if I put any clips in, I will bend it and ruin the whole thing. So a little bit there, a little bit down my nose, around my eyes. This isn't hugely technical, but just get it on your skin. That's my tip. And cover that spot. Blending brush to the rescue. So I try and just blend it downwards, quite slowly, I suppose. And as you can see, the blending brush makes it all sit in place perfectly. Honestly, I wish I had discovered these way back when, because it would make life so much easier. Look how nice that side's gone on already. It's a bit of a revelation for me. So obviously having a makeup artist tell me what shade to get is a helpful factor, but that is something anybody can do when you pop to the makeup counter in store if you need a bit of help with which shade you need. But my skin is quite olive, I suppose, or a little bit olive. And then I do tend to go quite dark in the summer, so I might need to get a new one once I've got a lovely tan. I'm obviously not a professional makeup artist at all. This is just the way that I do my makeup with my own makeup essentials. I feel like I should add that disclaimer in there, just in case anyone has found this video and gone, hang on a minute, how is she doing that? So that is my nicely blended foundation. Feeling better already. Another new product from my makeup essentials, and something I've been using for about 2 months now, would be the Eborian concealer. Now I've tried a lot of different concealers over the years, but I would say this one is probably my favorite I've found in at least the last 5 years, let's say. I previously used NARS Perfect Concealer, and that's pretty good. Also for quite a while, I like using the Yves Saint Laurent Touche Eclat. I do sometimes, if I've got a particularly big spot, use the matte concealer because that's a little bit heavier. But in terms of an everyday makeup routine, now that I'm over 40, I do find this one works particularly well. It's really, really good. So let me show you, a little bit like my foundation. It's not hugely technical, but I just put a little bit of a dotted line down where the dark shadows are and a bit of pigmentation down there. I then do a bit of a strip like that, which will make sense in a moment. Put a bit on that spot. That one might need a little bit of extra work later, but let's see. Tiny bit there to lift that area. I like adding a strip down my nose just to highlight the straight bit, not the wonky bit, round the nose. And then I saw this on social media and I've done it ever since. You just add a line, kind of like the Joker smile, going up from the corners of your mouth. Make sure it goes, oh actually that's gone a bit straight, hasn't it? Make sure it goes upwards, a bit on my chin for the dark area. There is a method to my madness, I promise. So with the wide end of my blending brush, I generally start with this funny Joker line and just blend that in, almost stroking downwards, I suppose, because you don't want to obviously see that line, but the aim of what I'm trying to do is just lift up that area from those lovely gels I've got going on. So it's very subtle, but it does just give it a little bit of a lift, which I like. My chin's got a little bit of pigmentation, so I'll just blend that in there. And then same again on this side, lifting up. And if you feel like you've gone a little bit too heavy with the Joker smile, just blend a little bit more to make it go in. Yeah, something like that. And then with the other end of my blending brush, I then dab in around the nose. Make sure you dab it rather than stroke it, otherwise you're just pulling off something that you put on underneath, i.e. the foundation, which we don't want to do. I broke my nose when I was younger on the brownie camp, or what's the one after brownies? Scout? No, that's boys, isn't it? Anyway, the one after brownies, I fell out of a bunk bed being silly with my friends, and pretty sure I broke my nose, hence why it's a little bit wonky, but I quite like it now in a weird kind of way. I don't think I would ever get it fixed as such. It adds character. Right, that spot definitely needs a bit more work, so we'll come back to that one in a moment. And then around the eyes, again, this is probably where I spend the most time, because I would say this is my problem area. I've got quite dark rings around my eyes, and I've got a very big spot of pigmentation, annoyingly, right there. So it makes you look like you've got worse bags than you actually have. So just pressing that in around the eyes, and then checking from the other angle that I've kind of blended that okay. I haven't got like a big strip of cream. Again, it's all about lifting it up when we get over 40, or it is for me anyway. And then I use a little bit of that excess just to lighten up my eyelid. I don't actually put an awful lot on, and I have, as you'll see, just a few makeup essentials that I tend to reach for on a day-to-day basis. But I think the trick is all about how you put it on rather than having a different concealer or powder. To me, I think the technique is more important, and also something we're continually learning as we go along. I mean, my makeup routine these days, over 40, is quite different to how I even did it when I was in my 30s. So we're always learning, and I definitely am, thanks to YouTube, watching endless makeup videos. Dab it in place. Got a lovely little bit of vein there. Annoyingly, I was going to, in this video, tell you all the shades I've got because I've got my glasses with me, and they're gone. I don't know where they've gone. I might have to write that in the description afterwards, because some of those on the bottom of lipsticks are so small, you need a magnifying glass. Okay, so that is pretty much me with my concealer on as well. For any spots, like I mentioned, I use a tiny bit of the matte concealer. Try not to use too much of this because it's quite heavy, but just for that little bruiser, I would pat a little bit on, and it just takes out that redness. So then I'm ready for powder, and my new absolute favourite makeup essential for my own makeup bag has got to be the Refi powder. Now, this was actually a bit of a happy accident because I didn't realise it is water-based. I thought it was just an ordinary loose powder. So when I first tried it, as you can see, it looks like a loose powder there in the box. So when I first tried it, it felt a little bit wet, and I'm kind of looking at it thinking, have I spilt something in there? What have I done? But my makeup looked amazing, and it was probably the best powder I think I've ever used. Anyway, long story short, I checked the website. That is how it's meant to be. I've never even heard of that. I didn't know you could get water-based powder. But again, it is a bit of a revelation for me, and definitely a new favourite product. So normally I use this blending brush. So I just dab a little bit into the pot. You don't need very much of this at all, so it should last a while. And I tend to use the powder just in the T section because I do like to stay as glowy and healthy looking as possible. I don't want to feel caked in makeup. So I'm going to use a minimal amount. So just dabbing it around my eyes, my eyelids, and the spot. Let's make sure he's nice and secure. So you can see straight away, isn't it good? I'm very, very impressed with this one. I don't actually know how I heard about them, but I think I am a little bit slow off the mark, because since I bought these, I've then noticed on social media they're actually really huge, but I don't think I saw anything about them on social media. I don't know how I found the website. So just dabbing a little bit on that section of my forehead. I'm not going to do all of my forehead because I quite like it to look a little bit shiny. Around my nose. I suppose essentially I am padding in the powder where I put the concealer. It's funny that you don't realise how you do your makeup until you show somebody else. And then you notice things about yourself. Look at that, isn't it good? It's just taken out the shine from that T section, but it doesn't feel cakey, it's not got stuck in my wrinkles, and I still look fresh and natural looking, but it's just taken away that real shine on the T-zone. Very, very impressed with that one. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but I spent about £40 overall with an eyebrow thing I'll show you in a minute. So not silly money. So my next makeup essential would have to be a Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. Now I've used this one for quite a while. Still definitely a favourite. Don't think I will ever go back to what I was using before. It just does exactly what I need it to do. And a new technique I've started doing is slightly different actually. So I start by using my ring finger and getting a good blob on there. And just, I suppose a little bit like contouring, I just do a line where I want to shadow. So let's do my lines first, hold on. Just underneath the cheekbones. Not that I really need those to stick out anymore because they're getting skinnier the older I get, but I have to follow the routine that I've seen online, otherwise I get confused. It's gonna look delightful. Then I do a tiny bit at these sides of my nose to take away a little bit of that bulbous looking end on my nose and underneath. And then just a little bit around the top section here where I would usually get a little bit of the sun. Getting my blending brush again, my magic tool, and then just blending out those dark lines. I'm off to London today again. I seem to be down there all the time at the minute. I have a couple of events to go to, which is quite exciting, and I shall no doubt film them for you and show you. On the cheek section, I do a little bit of an upwards motion because I don't mind if that bronzer goes up into my cheek, but I don't really want it coming down here. So, and essentially when you can't see a line anymore, you know you've blended enough. I look like I've caught sun a little bit more on my forehead than anywhere else, but never mind, it works. So next up from my makeup essentials for that lovely timeless style over 40 would have to be my Desert Island blusher. I don't think I could live without blusher. I just look too grey and too washed out. So this time I'm using a slightly different brush, dab it on, blow the excess off, and then make that funny smiley mirror face, and I just kind of dab around the apples of my cheek. Obviously they're looking a little bit shiny because I didn't put any powder on them, but that is how I like it. Now, if you go a little bit too OTT and you're looking very rosy, just get your blending brush and take off some of the excess or blend it in. I think last time I did a makeup video, someone said you put your blusher way too high. I thought, really? Do I? I actually quite like it high because I feel like it lifts the face up a bit. How I like it anyway. So we've got blusher now. So what would I do? Oh yes, makeup essential number 7, not really sure, would be this little eyeshadow palette that I got from Code 8. I have shown you this many times, but it does exactly what I need, so I keep going back to it. I'm going to use a little bit of the creamy beige colour, and with a fairly thick eyebrow brush, I just add to the center corner of my eye to make sure that's not looking too dark, and then over the top of my eyelids. Now eyeshadow wise, I've been sent some really beautiful options recently, and equally I do often just reach for that one if I want something a little bit shiny. I must admit, when it comes to makeup essentials and thinking of my favorite ways to do my makeup, it would have to be going back to the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer and just dabbing a little bit of this onto my eyelids. And the reason being is because when I put this onto my eyelids, and I've got obviously a little bit of it over my face, it kind of gives me that very natural glowy look, like I'm on holiday and I've just got a bit of a tan rather than I've got a full face of makeup. So let me show you what I mean. Again, I'm just going to use my third finger. Excuse my hands, my eczema is terrible at the moment. And I will just, along the crease of my eye, dab that into place. I think it helps because it's a matte colour rather than anything too shiny. And they do say actually when you're over 40 you should opt for matte eyeshadows rather than anything too glitzy or with a bit of glimmer in there, so it doesn't attract attention towards those wrinkles. I personally ignore that a lot and I do use shiny ones, but if I had to choose as a makeup essential, this is my absolute favourite. It just looks so natural and sun-kissed, and I would say that is my favourite kind of makeup. Often harder to do a very natural makeup than it is to do something quite glammed up. Patting that in place slightly more at the corner of my eyes than heading into the center. So you're just dabbing it in, and then if you feel like you've gone too wide, just use the blending brush and stroke that upwards. So hopefully you can see the difference. Very subtle, very natural, just my cup of tea. I like it when products do a bit of 2 for the price of 1, i.e. your bronzer and your eyeshadow in one go. And the other nice thing about this particular one is that it feels creamy when you put it on, but it dries matte and then doesn't slide off. It's just a really, really good one. Next up in my everyday makeup essentials, now that I'm over 40, I have to say that eyebrow gel to some sort of extent is definitely a must for me. I just find that it's a little bit like an instant eye lift for your face. It really opens your face out, lifts your eyes a little bit. So a little bit like adding blusher, this would be a desert island product for me. Now, I mentioned in a vlog I did recently that my favorite ever eyebrow wax I've bought is from Iconic and it's called Brow Silk. However, I think they have discontinued it now, which is such a shame because I thought it was brilliant. So I had been using a Benefit one, I've tried Boy Brow, I've tried, who else was there? I've tried loads of them, to be honest with you, over the last couple of years because it is something I really think makes a huge difference. However, when I was shopping on Refi, I saw their version and it had some really great reviews. And I would say, hopefully you agree when you see it, that it is a very close second to my favorite Iconic one. So I would give it 9 out of 10, say. So in the first instance, while the eyebrow brush is quite wet with the gel, I brush upwards with my eyebrows, which are very long, as you can see, pat in place, just to try and get any of that excess gel off. And then once they're pretty much in position, I shape them into place. It's a little faffy, I will admit. However, it is worth the time and effort to get it right because it would just really open up your eyes. Kind of like that. So I'm really impressed with this one. I have tried many over the years. The only reason I wouldn't give it 10 out of 10 is because compared to the Iconic one, which I can't buy anyway, it leaves a tiny bit more excess of the gel and you have to really sort of pat down to get rid of it. See there, it just leaves a little bit of glue, which is annoying. And I feel like I need to brush it back out again. So then after a little bit of faffing, that is what I like my eyebrows to look like. Now, I'm not sure if I would call this an essential, but it is particularly helpful. I then go in with a Code 8 eyebrow pencil. I think that one's the medium that I've got there. And where I've got little patches in my eyebrows, I just fill in a tiny bit. Don't go overboard with this because I hate them to look too fake, I suppose. So just a tiny bit where they look a little bit sparse. And the medium is probably a little bit too light for me, but I like using this one particularly because it then makes it look a bit more natural as well. And that's pretty much it. Just a little touch to give them a bit more definition. Righty, what are we doing? Makeup essential number, I don't know. But I definitely use my mascara every day. Actually, I would say when I'm on my holiday, and obviously going in and out of the pool, and even in the evening time, because you've got such a lovely glow with your skin, I do miss out my mascara, which probably makes my eyes look really small when I'm on holiday, but it's quite a nice feeling not wearing it. But certainly on an everyday basis during the week in England with my job, I always wear mascara. So this one is Code 8, but I particularly like it because it doesn't tend to make your eyelashes stick into clumps. It just still looks quite natural, but it does give a nice effect at the same time. I love my actions that go with this. Watch it go in clumps now just to prove me wrong. The general basis of my makeup is as natural as possible while getting rid of as much pigmentation as possible and not looking too dark around the eyes. Oh, and a little bit sun-kissed as well. If I could throw that in for good luck, then happy days. So there, hopefully you can see the difference between the two. It's a really nice one actually. So the combination of the eyebrow gel, really nice bronzer on your eyelids, and then of course mascara just really opens your eyes out. Then on a normal everyday routine, because I've been doing an awful lot around my eyes, I would just go back to my powder with a tiny, tiny little amount and just touch up where any of that brown might have fallen down under my eyes, and also just to make sure it follows that line all the way up, just as sort of a finishing setting touch really. Nearly done, nearly. So last but not least on my everyday makeup essentials would have to be my lovely new lipstick that I got from Code 8. Now the reason I love this one is not only is it a really nice deep, warm red tone for your lips. But you can also, if you haven't already put blusher on, use this on your cheeks too. So a little bit like the bronzer from Charlotte Tilbury, it's a 2-in-1 kind of product. So it's nice to have that second option with it as well. But for today, I'm just going to use it on my lips. So I tend to use this because it's already in quite a nice sharp shape of a lipstick. I use it directly from the pen as such. Okay, so that is the look when I first put the lipstick on, and although I love the colour, this for me is way too dramatic, way too over the top for my everyday style, I suppose. So then I get a bit of tissue and I'm going to do lots and lots of blotting. So first of all, that way, and then I dab it, particularly over the lines, the edges of my lips, because that's where the excess seems to gather and makes it look too prominent, too OTT. So in actual fact, I probably put quite a lot of lipstick on, take 70% off, and then I'm kind of at my perfect level of lipstick for an everyday basis. As always, there's a method to my madness. But as you'll see, hopefully, and agree, this is just the right amount of red stain, shall we say, to wear in the daytime. So that is pretty much it. My everyday makeup essentials that I tend to use on a day-to-day basis. But do let me know what you think in the comment section below. Have you got any of these products yourself? Do you rate them? Or maybe you've got a recommendation of something you think I will like or everybody else will like as well that's even better than some of these I'm using. It's always lovely to hear from you, so do let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel and you've got a like to spare, I would always be very, very grateful for that too. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you've enjoyed this video and it's given you a few tips and a few different ideas and inspiration along the way. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and I shall see you on Sunday. Take care.